All right. So we're looking at Yann's match from a recent competition. Here he already gets the underhook on his right side, which is a great starting position. So now he's got the underhook, and on this side he has an inside tie. Even though the head positions are relatively even, Yann has the clear advantage position here. He's got the underhook and inside tie on the second side. Let's see what he does with it. His opponent tries to do a throw, but his hips were too high. One of the things that you need to do if you're going to do a hip switching throw like this is you either need to get your hips lower than your partner's hips, or you need to pull their weight over their base. But in this case, his hips were neither underneath Yann's hips, they were higher than his hips, and Yann's weight was still over his base of support. So because of that, Yann was able to stay secure, not get thrown, and score the body lock. He's able to connect his hands. They were disconnected after, so it's too bad he couldn't capitalize on that, but it's a good example of how proper posture can help you out. So here Yann's head gets a little bit too low, and his opponent takes advantage of that by stuffing the head down and attacking the head here. When your head is being threatened from a guillotine and you're still standing, you have a lot of mobility with your body, your goal is to circle your head from being on the outside to being on the inside. So to pop your head underneath their body, bringing your hips closer to theirs as if you want to face the same direction. And Yann kind of does that. He does that. He circles around. He frees his head. Good job on that. Some more grip fighting. It's good he doesn't accept the collar ties. He forces the collar tie off of his head. Doesn't let his opponent control his head. So here, this is a really good entrance. His opponent came down, picked up the leg. In order to prevent the takedown here, Yann would either have to be quicker with this arm to get an underhook, which is a useful tool for sprawling, or in this case, as he has an overhook, his other hand could come to the head with a crossface, and then use those 2 points of contact to keep his opponent's shoulders there while he sends that leg backwards in space. But another strategy, which he elected to do, was instead of defending the takedown, he moved straight in for controlling the head and opting for moving towards a submission. So here his opponent gets him down, and if his opponent frees his head now and negates the submission threat, his opponent would get his 2 points for the submission. So Yann has to not let go of the head here, and I think he actually finishes it. Here he's got a good, you can see his forearm is placed against his opponent's neck. In order to get more pressure off of this, he could try to bring his opponent to this side. When you're attacking a guillotine, it's often helpful to think about putting your opponent's head on the mat. So he could try to force himself to his right side, which would allow him to increase pressure. But I think he's able to get the finish here. Yeah, getting some good torque. His opponent taps. Nice one. Good round. Let's get to the second round. All right, second round. See, right from the start there, you see Yann doesn't accept the collar tie. His opponent goes to establish a left collar tie, and Yann's hand goes immediately to his arm and doesn't let him establish that collar tie, which would allow him to set up some attacks and mess up his posture. So he pushes that over his head, peels it off, and goes back to establish his own dominant grips. Some good battling for inside position here. Yann scores the underhook. Here he's got an underhook and an overhook, so this is an even position, the under-over position. His opponent tries to do a switch, but again, like in the previous round, he's not got Yann off-balanced a lot. If you want to do a throw that involves turning around and facing away from your opponent, you need to off-balance them or get underneath them. In this case, neither happens. Yeah, and Yann capitalizes on that, takes his partner down, but gets rolled in the process. So here, if his partner stabilizes the position, he'll score 2 points for the takedown because he ended up on top. Yeah, and the ref's giving him his 2 points for the takedown now. Since the last competition, we did work on closed guard. So it'll be interesting to see how Yann applies those techniques here. Good, he's getting some kind of control of his partner's posture here, opting for a head and arm control. And we were looking at establishing kind of upper body control and then turning those control points into various sweeps, whether they're arm drags or flower sweeps or pendulum sweeps. So he's doing a good job of controlling his partner's arms, and then the next step would be to create an angle instead of having your spines aligned, 1, 2 here in the same line, to then turn to bring your head closer to your partner's knee so that your spines create a T, and that can allow you an opportunity for a pendulum sweep. So this reset in the center, closed guard. Yann's disrupting his opponent's posture. Okay, cool. He gets the scoop grip here, which will allow him to sweep in that direction if he chooses. He's trying to get some kind of control with his... Yeah, so that was really nice. So here, Yann, with his other hand, he wants to get control of his partner's arm or his head, and then open this leg out to the side and do the pendulum sweep. His opponent focuses way too much on the hand, and then in the process of him being focused on the hand, Yann does the sweep with the lower body. That's really cool. He realizes, okay, he can't get what he needs with that hand, but his partner's off balance, and he takes advantage of it with a beautiful pendulum sweep. Here he has to stabilize the position in order to get his 2 points for the sweep. And there he gets his points for the sweep. So that ties up the round. It's 2-2 right now. Looks like here there's an opening to just flip the leg over. This is a sensitivity thing right here. There's a moment where Yann's leg is no longer trapped. So this would be a good moment to do a quick hip switch, back step with this leg, and have a very easy pass. But his opponent slipped in a butterfly hook and was able to scramble to turtle. Yann wisely picked up a control position, which is the front headlock. It's not as good as a pin with your partner's torso on the ground, but it's still better to be in the position of controlling the front headlock than being in the turtle. So they reset in the center, away from the border. Yeah, and he goes right for an anaconda roll, a gator roll. So from here, he's got this arm around the neck and the other arm kind of an over wrap around the tricep. He sticks his head in the hole and rolls his partner over. At this point, as they roll to the other side, he could use this leg to collapse his partner's defensive arm, which is hidden from view, and then move towards the anaconda choke. But instead, he rolls over and stays back on top. Switches to a back attack. Nice idea. As his partner rolls over, he does a good job of walking around to not get caught in his guard. So now he's in a side control or north-south pin, and he's got one arm isolated from his partner's body, which bodes well for setting up all kinds of attacks, namely an armbar, if he can isolate that arm enough. When isolating an arm, it's a good idea to isolate above the elbow. So if you can get your arm, in this case Yann's arm, between your partner's shoulder and elbow, and then pin that to their body, that can often be a secure point from which you can work your legs around and set up your attack. So his partner goes down. All right, here Yann has kind of a reverse body lock. This is not a good position to be in very long. If you've got your arms on your partner's torso here on both sides, and your partner's head is free, they can do a duck out, a sit out, and then come around and take your back or reverse you. If you do have both arms in that position between the armpits and hips of your partner, you want to make sure that you're stuffing their head with your hips or your lower belly, forcing their head down to the ground. Otherwise, it's wise to release the grip and take one grip between the head and shoulder. So you have one arm kind of in a guillotine or front headlock position, and the other arm can be in the armpit. His partner is kind of building up. See, this is what can happen. Luckily, I don't think Yann gets taken down by this, but this is the risk here. And if his partner was a bit quicker here, he's got his head on the outside, he could drive to the side and get a double leg takedown, or switch his hips out to this side, bringing this leg across, and then attack the back. Yeah, Yann gets another guillotine grip. Yeah, this time he is keeping his partner's head on the ground, which allows for a lot more pressure and a quicker tap because of that. Nice. 2 guillotines. Not bad. Let's skip to the third round. All right, third round. A little bit of patty cake grip fighting, high fives. Okay, now there's some points of contact. And Yann decides to pull guard, which is a cool choice because he played the standing game the first 2 rounds. He's getting a different strategy this third round. Here he's got the scoop grip, he's got some good posture control, and he's attempting the pendulum sweep, but his spine is still too much aligned with his partner's spine. In the pendulum sweep, you want your hips to come around and your knee to come closer, your head to come closer to their knee so that your spine is perpendicular to theirs, and then you can use that to off balance them in the direction where they have no posts. So he goes back to trying to control his partner's limbs and posture, off balancing him with his knee pulls. Here, his opponent makes a mistake. In the guard, when you're caught in someone's guard, it is almost impossible to submit the person on the bottom. There are a couple little submissions you can do, but for the most part, if you are in someone's guard, your goal is to pass the guard, not to submit them. You submit them from a better position. Here, his partner's trying to set up what looks like an Americana, but you just can't get enough pressure in the guard from an Americana, because the moment you put pressure, your partner who has the guard can use their legs to pull you away and relieve the pressure. He's trying to set that up, but that's a mistake because it just gives Yann a chance to establish more dominant controls on him. Oh, that's really nice there. Switch to a triangle grip. So here, Yann is dominating one arm. He's got an overhook, a wrap, and he's connected his hands to really trap that in. And then his opponent makes the mistake of posting out. And it's not just a mistake his opponent's making. Yann's also actively unbalancing him. And then he passes his leg. Okay, so his opponent's mistake was drawing the arm back in quickly, and Yann capitalized on that to get a trap triangle here. It's a trap triangle because he doesn't have the full lock of his ankle behind his knee. In order to do that, the next step would be to abandon this arm, grab hold of the head with his right arm, and reach for the scoop grip with his left arm. So he'd want to bring his head all the way around to the other side. I think he's getting greedy with this grip, and that's what's holding him back. Now he let it go, but oh wow, two in the same time. So his partner again makes the mistake of not addressing the fact of having one arm in and one arm out of the legs. When you're in the guard, you either want both arms in or both arms out. One arm in, one arm out is a recipe for a triangle. So here again, Yann needs to rotate his head this way while controlling his opponent's posture, which he can do with his shin or his arm. He almost gets the lock there, but his opponent postures up. He takes the sweep, and now there's a bit of a leg exchange. So let's take a look at that again. From here, he does the lumberjack sweep, controlling both ankles and pushing his opponent down to the ground. After he does the sweep, I would recommend trying to get up to get your 2 points for the sweep, but it's also valid to go for some leg attacks here. I think his opponent tries to pull him into a leg exchange, and they end up in a straight ashigarami here. So Yann's got his opponent's ankle, and he's got control of the hip at the same time. So because he has the ankle and control of the hip, he's able to apply some guillotine-like pressure and, yeah, get the submission for the ankle lock. Super nicely done, Yann. 3 subs, 3 matches. Well done.